This is the Para Cave Podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Parramatta Leagues Club, home of the Eels, and also home of Jack's Pale Ale.
Welcome to another episode of the Para Cave Podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Para Cave.
Hi, it's Ella, the best person on the Tipping Podcast, and yeah, I'm not doing it today because sadly I'm sick, so I can't do it. My tips are Storm, Manly, Roosters, Panthers, Tigers, Bulldogs, Canberra, and Para. And also a big thank you to listening to the podcast this year. And I forgot what I was going to say. Joining in the tipping competition. We're probably going to do it next year also. I landed on 69th place, and as of the time I'm recording this, so yeah. So I hope you enjoyed this year's tipping podcast, and we'll be back next year. Bye!
And yes, hello, welcome back to another episode of the Para Cave Podcast. Troy Warner here, and it is the tipping podcast for round number 27. Can you believe it? It is the last regular round of the season. And look, this is brought to you by Assure Strata Reports. Please give them a follow on Instagram, as well as Buddy Oldman Masters Boxer. Give him a follow on Instagram as well. They are the proud sponsors of the Para Cave Podcast tipping competition, which is in its last week this week. So for all of you in that top 8 of the tipping competition, good luck. And look, I'm assuming there will be a few people who have saved their joker rounds for the last week of the competition, which will certainly make things very interesting. So look, good luck in the last round of the regular season, as it all comes down to this. And look, for some of these sides, they are vying for a top 4 spot, even a top 8 spot, as well, as there is a couple of teams still maybe going to get into that top 8, but it probably does look like the top 8 is pretty much set. It is just a matter of which way they will fall. We do know, however, that 1, 2, and 3, they are set in concrete, and they will finish in 1, 2, and 3. The Raiders, congratulations to them for winning their first minor premiership since 1990 on the weekend with their win over the West Tigers. So they finish first on... Well, they are on 44 points at the moment. They could go to 46. The Melbourne Storm, who had that massive loss against the Roosters last week, they are on 40 points in second spot. And the Bulldogs are in third spot with 38 points. Now, even if the Bulldogs win, the Melbourne Storm have a far superior differential than the Bulldogs. So 1, 2, and 3 are set. Position number 4 on that ladder, and as we know, no team has won the grand final outside the top 4. So top 4 is very essential to win this competition, but those sort of records are meant to be broken. And the Brisbane Broncos, they currently sit in 4th position on 34 points. However, the Sharks and Warriors also have 34 points as well. So the Broncos play the Storm in the first game of this round 27. The Sharks have the Bulldogs and the Warriors have Manly. So let's go, well, actually also to the Panthers. They are in 7th spot on 31 points. The Roosters are in 8th spot on 30 points. The Dolphins, they are on 28 points in 9th, and the Sea Eagles are on 28 points in 10th. So the Sea Eagles, they play the Warriors. The Dolphins, they play the Raiders. So look, it pretty sort of much is set in stone. But as I said, those finishing positions, we don't know where they will be. And as I said, it all kicks off on Thursday night up at Suncorp Stadium. The Broncos take on the Storm. And look, this is a really interesting game because some of these players have been rested for the Melbourne Storm. Sean Bloor, Stefano Utokumanu as well. But look, Sean Bloor has suffered a fractured larynx, so wow, that's pretty intense, that one. So hopefully he is okay. Stefano, he is being rested. So for the Melbourne Storm, though, they've got great news. Jerome Hughes, he comes back from a shoulder injury. Xavier Coates, Eli Katoa, Nick Meaney, Josh King are all back after being rested in round 26. So great news for the Melbourne Storm there. Tui Kamikamica returns from a concussion on the bench. Jack Howarth is also listed amongst the reserves as he looks for a return from a groin injury. For the Broncos, Shibasaki, he has been a naughty boy. He has been stood down from the Broncos after a breach of team standards. So unfortunately, he is out for you Broncos fans that are listening. Jesse Arthurs has been recalled onto the wing. Dean Mariner pushes into the centres. So look, a massive game for the Broncos. They want to secure a top 4 spot. They have played this season, and it was in that game that they had those 3 major injuries to Reynolds, Mam, and one other player that just slips me at the moment, which I cannot think who it was. Someone will remind me. But look, both of these sides, the form line out of their last 5 games, 4 wins apiece. The last time they played, which was that game where Ezra Mam, Adam Reynolds, and one more. Cannot think of it. Someone will remind me. Selwyn Cobbo, there we go, got it. Was injured. The Melbourne Storm won that game, and it was also played on a Thursday night about a month ago now. 22 points to 2. So Richie Benaud would love that score. That was won by the Melbourne Storm down in Melbourne. Look, geez, I don't know who to tip in this game. I think the Broncos, they got a massive, they got a lot to play for. Melbourne Storm, still no Harry Grant. He is out suspended until week 1 of the finals. But Jerome Hughes back, getting a bit of match fitness before the finals. Their backline still looks pretty good. They won't want to get embarrassed again. They got embarrassed in Craig Bellamy's 600th game as coach, but it's very rare that you do see the Melbourne Storm lose 2 games in a row. I will tip the Storm in this one. I think they will get the victory. The first game on Friday night sees the farewell to 4 Pines Park and the Manly Sea Eagles for Daly Cherry Evans. It could possibly be, unless they fluke it and get into the finals. But this is the farewell game. It is his 352nd game for Manly. Tolo Kula is out, unfortunately, with a knee injury. Joey Walsh gets his first taste of NRL action off the bench as well. For the Warriors, just one change. Sam Healy comes in for Wade Egan, who has a hip injury. The Warriors need the Broncos to lose to the Storm on Thursday night to have any chance of making the top 4. So, look, before this game is played, they will know their fate. So, a lot to play for the Warriors. They will know what they need to do going into this game. They weren't terrible last week against Parramatta, but nevertheless, they did lose that game. Way early on in New Zealand, the Warriors got the win, 36 points to 16 in this game. Both sides struggling a little bit at the moment. 2 wins in their last 5 for both of them. However, the Sea Eagles are last start winners over the Dragons, and as I mentioned, the Warriors went down to the Eels. Look, I'm going to tip Manly in this one. I think they will get the win. It will be an emotionally charged game for Manly with the farewell of DCE, so I will tip Manly in this one. Bit of a rough time slot though, 6 p.m. Will we see a packed Manly 4 Pines Park? I think we will, but a bit of a rough time slot, that one, 6 o'clock. Now, the second game on Friday night is the Roosters and their Rabbitohs, 2 arch rivals playing in this game. So much so that Cam Murray has been named on the interchange bench for his first game of the season. Look, that's amazing, isn't it? Cameron Murray, he ruptured his Achilles during the preseason, and look, he has been named on the bench, the jersey number 17. So for one game, that's how much this game means to both these sides. For one player to come back for one game at the end of the season. So great news for Rabbitohs fans to see Cam Murray in action one time this season. Meanwhile, for the Roosters, Sam Walker returns from concussion protocols. Sandon Smith goes to the reserves. That's the only change that beat the Melbourne Storm, smashed them down there. So a win for the Roosters will wrap up a spot in the top 8, while a loss opens the door for the Dolphins. So, look, this will be a big crowd. These games always have a big crowd. There's always a lot that happens in this game. Still no Latrell Mitchell for the Rabbitohs. The Roosters, though, look, they will want to... This is do or die for them. They want that 8th spot. So they potentially could even get 7th spot as well if the Panthers lose. Alex Johnston, he needs 3 tries to overtake the record of Ken Irvine. Will he get a hat-trick against the Roosters? I don't think so. It will be interesting if he certainly does, because I'm pretty certain the fans will run onto the field, and I don't think security will be able to stop the fans from running on to the field if he does do that. It'd be great to see. It just adds to the theatre of this game. The try-scoring record could be broken in this one. However, I do think the Roosters will win this game. They certainly were in form last week against the Melbourne Storm, and look, April this year was a win to the Rabbitohs, 20 points to 14. The form line of these sides, well, the Rabbitohs have actually won the last 3 games in a row, which is a good way to end the season. They are going for 4 wins in a row to end the season. The Roosters, they are 4 out of their last 5 after dropping that game against Parramatta, 30 points to 10. I'm tipping the Roosters in this one. Sorry, South fans, but I am tipping the Roosters. The first game on Saturday sees the Dragons take on the Panthers. Now, the list of outs is not as long as the list of ins this week, and it's not as long as the list of outs of last week. That is for sure, because all the names are pretty much back. Brian Toto and Liam Martin will be given another week off as well this week. But Nathan Cleary is back. Blaze Talangi is back. Isaac Tungo is back, Dylan Edwards is back, Isaiah Yeo back, you name it, they're back. For the Dragons, same 17 for the final game of the season as what played last week, so no changes there. They will just want to finish the season on a high. This game being played at WIN Stadium, and we do know that the Dragons do play better down there. However, I think the Panthers will be pumped to get a win 1 week out from the finals. So, look, I'm very sorry, Flano. I am tipping the Panthers. I really hope you do an upset, though, and can get the victory. But I'm tipping the Panthers in this one. The form line... the form line is actually 2 wins out of the last 5 for both sides. So, who would have thought that one? The Panthers, though, they have lost 2 golden point games in those to the Raiders and the Storm, and then obviously rested all those players last week against the Bulldogs, went down to them. The Dragons have lost to the Sea Eagles, Rabbitohs and Warriors. So, form line is a little bit the same, but nevertheless, I just think the Panthers will get the victory in this one. The Titans and the Tigers up at Cbus Super Stadium on the Gold Coast is your 5:30pm game, and it is pretty much I think there'll be a lot of points scored in this game, to be honest. Carter Gordon will make his NRL debut, former Wallaby. It will be Des Hasler's final game as coach, which, I don't know where he will go after this. A couple of changes to the Tigers as well. I think this will be I'm going to say a Gold Coast win. I think they're going to send Des out on a high. Sorry, Tigers fans. Although I think maybe, you could get the victory. It was a 1-point win to the Tigers back at Leichhardt Oval. It was a Adam Dewey field goal that got the victory on that day. That wasn't that long ago. It was in July. For the Titans, the form line of the last 5 weeks doesn't look too good. 0 wins. For the Tigers, though, only 2 wins out of their last 5 as well. But I am going to tip the Titans in this one to get the win for Des and just finish off the season well. The Tigers will probably surprise me and win this one anyway, but I am tipping the Titans in this one. Bulldogs and Sharks at Accor Stadium on Saturday, 7:35pm. Jacob Kiraz, unfortunately, is out. Tuala gets the nod on the wing. Viliami Kikau is back on deck. So Josh Curran reverts to the bench. For the Sharks, Jesse Raymond returns after 2 games with a thumb injury. Braden Trindle has been named to play despite leaving the field early with a ankle injury last week. Oregon Kafusi is listed among the reserves. Big game. This will show where the Sharks are at. The Bulldogs as well. Coming early. This could be a semi-final coming early in the season. We might see this game played in a couple of weeks' time as well. I think the Bulldogs are going to get the win. There you go. I just think now's the time to get the win before the finals. That'll give them confidence. I'm not too impressed with the Sharks this season, to be honest. I just don't know where their strike power is. And games they should have won, they haven't. Games that they should have put a big score on, they haven't. I think the Bulldogs will get the win at Accor Stadium. Sunday, 2pm is the first game on Sunday. The Dolphins taking on the Raiders at KO Stadium up there at Redcliffe. I have been there, but I haven't been there for a game. Been there at night time, but we'll get up there one day for a game. The Dolphins, they will know their fate before they get to this game, if they can make the 8 or not. Herbie Farnworth is closing in on a return to this side. He's been listed in jersey number 22. Look, minor premiership already wrapped up for the Raiders, so 10 players are being rested. Ethan Strange, Hudson Young, Jamal Fogarty, Jed Stewart, Joseph Tarpany, Josh Papali'i, KO Weeks, Simi Sasagi, Tom Starling, Zach Hosking. So, look, smart move, I think, by Ricky. He has earned the opportunity to do so. As I said, the Dolphins will know their fate before this game is played. They did play down in Canberra. It was a big win, big high-scoring points game to the Raiders, 40 points to 28. I'm actually going to tip the Dolphins in this one. I'm going to tip the Dolphins. I think they do have a lot to play for, but I'm going to tip the Dolphins at KO. They'll have a big crowd there, sold-out crowd, no doubt. Yeah, I'm going to tip the Dolphins. I think the Raiders, the young players will stand up. But look, they're already minor premiers. They already know where they're finishing, so why not? Now, the game I am looking forward to, and that is the last game on Sunday, 4:05 p.m. It is the Eels and the Knights, both last games for these two sides, and this game being played at Commbank Stadium. Now, this is the Dylan Brown Cup, you could say. He is back in the number 6 jersey for the Parramatta Eels. That is the only change to the side that won last week against the Warriors. Joash Papali, he has been named in jersey number 22. But this will be a very interesting game. Dylan Brown's last game in the number 6 jersey was around number 19 game against the Panthers. He did play 3 games in the centres, but it's great to see him in the number 6. Fans get a chance to say farewell. For Newcastle, it is the same team that went down to the Sharks, same 17. Adam O'Brien, at his last game in the coach's chair. He will be moving on after this game. It's his last game there, so the players he'll want the players to get a win, not just for him but for the club as well. But I think Parramatta's going to put on a big score here. I think it will be a 13+ victory to the Eels. Looking forward to seeing Dylan Brown and Mitchell Moses play one more time together. I'm excited about Isaiah Iongi and the way that he is playing. I think also too Dylan Walker in that lock position. Kelman Tuolungi, he can pull off a pass like he did last week. Junior Paulo with an offload as well. Riley Smith. Just really looking forward to this. Congratulations to Will Penasini, who will play his 100th NRL game on the weekend. I'm tipping him for the first try, just quietly. The last time they played, it was 28 points to 6 in favour of the Eels up in Newcastle. The Eels, 3 wins out of their last 5 for the Newcastle Knights. 0 out of 5. It will be Father's Day. Now, also, after this game will be the NRLW game between the Eels and Tigers as well after this game at 6:15 p.m. So if you are going to the NRL, please stick around for the NRLW. The ladies would love the support at the home ground of the Eels, so please stick around and watch that one as well. But yeah, well, look, no surprises. I am tipping the Eels in that one. So, just recapping my tips for this week, round number 27. And look, I got 7 out of 8 last week. I haven't done the best in the tipping competition this year. So, look, hoping to get a perfect round, hoping to go out with a bang. I am tipping the Melbourne Storm, the Manly Sea Eagles, the Roosters, the Panthers, the Titans, the Bulldogs, the Dolphins, and the Eels, and the Cowboys. They have the bye. Their season is done and dusted. So they have the bye this weekend. Just quickly in the NRLW, it is the Roosters and Raiders. I think the Roosters will win that one. The Dragons and the Cowboys. I think the Dragons will get that one. The Bulldogs and the Sharks, I think the Sharks will get that one. The Warriors and Broncos, I think the Broncos will win that. The Knights and Titans, I think the Knights will get that. The Eels and Tigers, I think the Eels can get the victory there. Look, thank you very much for listening to the Tipping Podcast throughout 2025. I really appreciate it. And for those that have gone in the tipping competition as well, I really appreciate that. I think there's something like 90 odd, or it could be up to 100 odd people in that one, so I really appreciate that. Appreciate the sponsors, Assure Strata Reports, and also Buddy Old Man Masters Boxer for the support of the tipping competition. Really appreciate that one as well. Follow my tips for this week if you want. Good luck for those in contention for prizes in this last round, and I really appreciate it very, very much. Thank you for listening, and the Para Cave Podcast by the fan, for the fans. Go Para! Dylan, how you going, mate? Are you a Para Cave Podcast listener?
I am, bro. It's a great podcast. Everyone tune in.
Go Para!
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Para Cave Podcast. See you next time.